Hello and welcome to Journey to Union. This is the first video of 2024. We are officially in 2024 now, and I wanted to make a video all about collapsing timelines in 2024 and how this is all going to happen and where we are shifting into and what kind of the energy is, or the energy theme is, for 2024. And so I've made a video before about what's kind of happening and the energy that we are shifting into for 2024. And I've also made a video on timeline collapsing specifically. So if you have not seen those videos, then I would recommend watching them. So what we're doing on this journey for the most part is really collapsing old timelines, 3D, old perpetuating timelines, and we are really moving into the 0 point of the no time, the inner union, and all of that is happening as we shift into inner union. So we're collapsing old timelines, old outdated realities, and really the 3D reality is really collapsing. So this is really important to understand, and that we can't attain inner union without collapsing these old timelines, which is really hard for a lot of people. And especially on this journey, a lot of people finding it very difficult to let things go from the past, or let old relationships go, old jobs, old 3D circumstances. Everything has to fall away. And this is where we experience, the dark night of the soul and everything. And so it's very important to understand that this is actually part of the journey that we're on here, that we need to actually be collapsing old 3D timelines. And I know that it's quite difficult for a lot of people. And for myself, I find that it's easier for me than most people. Maybe because I don't know, I don't have a lot of these connections in 3D, and I've had my own share, but I think the problem is that a lot of people are having a hard time with collapsing timelines because of these old connections and old circumstances and 3D jobs, or anything like that is linked to your old identity, and all of that has to fall away. And it's really falling away more and more as we go on this journey of ascension, and really it's pushing you towards that inner union, that 0 point, which is where we're heading to on this journey. And so this whole process is leading up to the 0 point, and that is really what's been happening. So we are in accelerated times for 2024, and so the whole point of 2024, and as we head into more as more time goes on, it's going to be more uncomfortable to stay in the 3D, and you're really going to be pushed into coming out of these 3D timelines and really being pushed into anchoring higher energy, higher timelines, anchoring more of your highest soul identities. So this is what's happening as we move forward in this ascension. And this journey will require you to let go of those old things, old relationships, old circumstances. And I know a lot of people can get very stuck in the old ways, and especially because we haven't had a lot of the ego death happen at the beginning of the journey, so we get very stuck. And we can't progress into inner union without collapsing old timelines. So inner union doesn't happen just by you not doing anything. Inner union and union is something that we have to have participation in. And so we have our higher self guiding this process, leading this process, and then we have our ego. And so a lot of the times the ego is keeping us stuck, keeping us trapped. And a lot of us sometimes are trapped in these old 3D cycles. And I've made kind of a lot of videos on it, or, explaining the 3D cycles, 3D timelines, and how it's also affecting your counterpart, how your counterpart is stuck in 3D timelines, perpetuating the same old cycles with same old people. And so we are, really pulling them out of that by collapsing 3D timelines in our own reality. So the divine feminine, she's really working in the quantum realms, really pulling these old timelines, these old 3D timelines out the consciousness out of that, and really, anchoring higher and higher, and always elevating the vibration and frequency. So this is why this journey is all about collapsing time, not just for yourself, but for your counterpart, because your counterpart is you in a different reality. And so we're bringing you guys back into the same timeline. So in order to do that, we're really being asked to collapse old 3D timelines, old things that are no longer resonating, old timeline events like jobs, relationships, all these 3D circumstances. And in order to do that, you have to become conscious of, yourself. You have to become conscious of your patterns, of your triggers, of your traumas, the inner work. And this is what's really important here, because you have to work with all of that in order to collapse timelines. And so a lot of the times we can get stuck in 3D and 3D circumstances, or because the 3D is a huge distraction, and it's just all about the same old stuff, and it's just distraction from the inner work, from the ascension. And that's what's really the problem here, is that a lot of people are getting stuck in 3D because the 3D is just pulling them back. Even when you have attained inner union, you go into 3D and then you're back in separation consciousness, you're back in, disconnection. And so it's very hard to navigate 3D, and it's one of the things we have to master as we get into inner union, is really, how do we stay in that neutrality field? How do we stay in 0 point? How do we stay in inner union? And really, that's part of mastering, yourself as well, and navigating the 3D world, which we still have to be a part of. But we're bringing our higher consciousness into the 3D, and we're doing a lot of the inner balancing of the masculine and feminine. So there's a lot that you do on this journey, but it's really becoming, the master, and really the inner balance between the material and the spiritual world. And then that's what we're, stepping back into. So this is really all that's happening. And for 2024, we're really, coming into that place of really being uncomfortable for a lot of us. And so when I say uncomfortable, it's really, to push us towards that 0 point, towards our inner union, because inner union is not going to happen unless we really get pushed sometimes on this journey, and we really, drop a lot of the old and collapse a lot of the old timeline realities. So this is what's really happening, and what we're being forced into and pushed into for 2024, because it's not going to be a year where, things are going to be easy, and it hasn't been very easy. The ascension is not easy, but it's going to be a process of really doing a lot of the inner healing, probably a lot of dark nights of the soul. It really depends on where you are on your own journey. So everyone is different. Everyone is on different paths in terms of how far they have come. But, for 2024, we're looking at, a lot of the healing that is going to have to happen for you to drop a lot of the 3D timelines, because we need to collapse those timelines in order to shift you into inner union, and for inner union to even happen. And so that's going to affect you and your counterpart, because your counterpart cannot shift unless you shift. So they're just mirroring where you are. So I've made a lot of posts on this on Patreon, extended videos, and explaining all of this and what's happening, and timeline collapsing and all of that. So if you're interested in that, then if you want to learn more about it, then I would suggest checking out the Patreon. Also, there's a lot of comments coming in, a lot of messages, a lot of comments. There's no way I can answer everyone's questions, everyone's comments, and that is exactly why I created Patreon, because that is where, I can answer more of your comments, and I can engage more, and we have a community where we can talk, right? So if you have all these different questions, if you want answers, then Patreon is a great place for that, because there's no way I can answer all. I would love to answer all of your comments and questions, and I get a lot of them every single day. So if you would love to have your comments answered and all of that, then Patreon would be a great place. And so that is that. And the other thing is that I have my private sessions, and those are open. However, they are getting pretty booked up. So if you are looking for a private session, then the link is in the description. And I do have my Divine Union course if you need more help and support on this journey. And also I do have a podcast where I talk about other things, feminine healing, feminine energy, more like healing based content. And I will link that as well. So that is all for today's video. I wanted to just make sure that everyone understands where we are, where we're going, what's happening for 2024, and, you know, ultimately like what this year is going to bring us and what we're doing in terms of where we're going with the unions. And so I really feel like it's going to be an incredible year for all of us, and we are really here to shift into the 0 point, into the union. And for that, we need to collapse those old timelines, old timeline events, and that is really important. And that's what's going to be happening this year, and what's, you know, going to be unfolding this entire year for you to shift into union. I send you lots of love, and I thank you so much for all the new subscribers and for everyone. I really truly appreciate all of you. I hope that you had a beautiful break, a beautiful holiday, and you are ready to take on 2024 and ready to, you know, continue to do the work, to do the inner work, and really come into that beautiful balance and wholeness within yourself that this journey is taking you to. So I send you lots of love, and I'll speak to you in the next video.